Good morning. So we are on page 16. Process of developing our body, resources, and positive deeds. If you ask for what purpose we should develop these, then the root text says there are many to be taken care of. If this is too little, what good will this do? Nothing will be produced if there is complete satisfaction. So this actually could be translated in a different way. So third line should actually read like, you will not be able to develop complete satisfaction. I think the translation should be something like that. Therefore, this should be developed. Meaning that we discussed about how to protect body resources and positive deeds, how to give them, how to offer these to others, how to purify them. Then now we are talking about how to increase them, how to develop them. So in this connection, he says there are many to be taken care of. Even if you think about the world population, there are too many people who need help. And then, of course, if you talk about all sentient beings, it's too many, countless. So when you practice the Bodhisattva way of life and talk about benefiting all sentient beings, there's really too many. Therefore, it is important to understand this fact that we have to look after so many people. So therefore, like even if you look at the state of Buddhahood, the aim of his becoming completely enlightened is so that he is able to have the power to help everybody, so that he has the omniscience, the completely enlightened mind, so that he is able to read the minds of everybody. And thereby he is able to help different people according to their different disposition, different interest. See, now ordinary people like us, we try our best to help somebody, but while doing so, we may be harming them in some cases. Or in some cases, we may not be able to fulfill their needs, because we do not know their latent dispositions, their hidden interest, and so forth. So therefore, if you are to help others, then the help you need to provide to them is really too much. They need material health, they need emotional support, they need physical health, and so many. This demand is too much demand. So how would you help them? There are too many to be taken care of. If these things are too little, what good will this do? That means it will not be able to help everybody. And not only that, if you follow a path where your aim is to achieve just liberation for yourself, not enlightenment or Buddhahood to benefit all other sentient beings, then you will not be able to cultivate this state of complete satisfaction. This word is a little bit kind of ambiguous. But this basically means, this line basically means you will not be able to develop that complete satisfaction, means you will not be able to develop Buddhahood. You will not be able to actualize Buddhahood. Because it is only when you become a Buddha, then there will be total satisfaction for the needs of everybody. So there's the meaning. So this word is, even the Tibetan line itself is quite difficult to understand. But this is how it has been interpreted in this commentary by Tsongkhapa and also in the main text. So this complete state of complete satisfaction refers to the state of Buddhahood. not to just liberation for oneself. So therefore this should be developed, increased as much as possible. Now how would you increase them? How would you increase them? You would be able to increase them primarily because of your mental state. If you develop this with the motivation to help others, with a strong sense of compassion, with a non-grasping attitude of understanding or realization of emptiness, and then it is possible to provide them the needed help. And especially if you achieve higher bodhisattva states, or when you become a Buddha, then you are able to manifest yourself into different forms. So it is said that Buddhas, manifest themselves in the form of a bridge for those who want to cross a river. They will appear as a food for those who are hungry. They can appear in different forms. So even otherwise, even on a small level, even on an ordinary level, if you have those right motivations, you will try your best in different ways, countless different ways to help others. And thereby you will be able to address the needs of many of these people, because you will then be able to judge, at least to some extent, what is their immediate requirement and what is their long-term need, long-term requirement. So therefore, then he goes on talking about individually how all these three, body, resources and positive deeds, can be developed. So in the next line, the developing the body, he says, what is developing the body? It is not doing physical exercise and making you big and strong with a lot of muscles, but it is empowering the body and freeing it from laziness. See? So developing the body or basically means not just physical exercise, but it means empowering your body. Developing the body refers to strengthening it and increasing effort in its activities. So that could include so many things. That could include for example, in this sutra called Arya Ratana Mega Sutra, Buddha mentions that a bodhisattva, if he actualizes these 10 qualities, if he actualizes these 10 qualities, then you will be able to strengthen your body. You will be able to empower your body. What are those 10? I may not be able to read everything, but just to give you an indication. He says, "O great king, when a bodhisattva makes the dedication to even sacrifice his body, his life, but would not sacrifice the sublime dharma, and will always bow down and respect the sentient beings without arrogance, that is strengthening your body." Strengthening your body also includes serving the best food to those who are hungry, and to give the gift of fearlessness to those sentient beings who have fear, and to give nourishment and health and medicine to those sentient beings who are sick, and to share wealth to those who are poor, to whitewash the stupas of Tathagatas, to help carry the loads of those sentient beings who are weak and tired. So if you have this kind of 10 practices, then this is really strengthening and empowering your body. in this life and especially for future lives. And what do we mean by freeing from laziness? Laziness, there are different types of laziness. One meaning of laziness is, as we normally understand, laziness means just sitting, not doing. Then there are other forms of laziness. Laziness in the form of procrastination. If some dharma practices or good activities are to be done now, but if you don't do it, instead if you postpone, I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow comes tomorrow, then tomorrow comes tomorrow, next month, next year, when I have nothing else to do, those kind of attitude, In this way, if you keep on postponing doing dharma practices, activities, that is also one form of laziness. Then laziness in the form of not doing dharma practice because of your obsession and attachment to inferior ways of life, inferior activities. For example, if there is a movie to see, then if you decide that, okay, first I will watch the movie, then I do the dharma practice, then this is attachment to inferior things. So there's also laziness. Then laziness in the sense of discouraging yourself. I need to do this dharma practice, but how can I do it? I'm not so intelligent. I don't have the facilities. I don't know the language. Whatever reasons you might come up, if you look down upon yourself, discourage yourself and not take the steps to do the dharma practice, that is also because of laziness. Okay. So opposite to laziness is effort, perseverance. And effort in terms of the Buddhist practice is not just working hard, but it means delight and joy in the mind in doing such spiritual practices. So when you postpone your practice, when you discourage yourself, when you develop more obsession with inferior ways of life and things like that, that clearly shows that you have no joy and delight in doing the positive practices, and therefore you are unable to make those needed efforts. So therefore, when it comes to doing dharma practice, there should be genuine appreciation and delight. Just like the delight or appreciation a sportsman or woman has towards their sports. One of the sutras says, if you have one laziness, then you have no quality at all. There may be a little bit exaggeration, but the point is that laziness in the form of not doing and sleeping, laziness in all other forms, if you have these different types of laziness, then you will never be able to come up with initiatives, you will never be able to take the steps to do the dharma practice. Therefore, it is constantly advised in many of the Buddhist teachings that if you want to do dharma practice, do it right now. Because tomorrow and next life, which will come first, nobody can say. Therefore, it is possible before the time to do dharma practice for tomorrow comes, the death might come today, the future life might come today, it might happen today. So therefore, don't postpone it. Don't postpone it. As I was saying in the beginning, that especially in the beginning stage, when our knowledge is weak, when our interest is not so much, you need to push yourself a little bit. And then once you get into this, is just like almost like reading a novel. If you just don't even open the first page, read the first few pages, you will never be able to read that. But if you at least make it a point to sit down and read at least first few pages, then that might give you interest to continue and read the rest. So something like that. So if you sit down, start enjoying the peace, start enjoying the teaching, then you will automatically go into it. Then it becomes a part of your life. You get habituated with that. So that is important. in this text, sutra called Questions of Lodu Aryamati Sagar, I think. There also the Buddha says, those who have laziness, enlightenment is very far. Those who are lazy, enlightenment is very far. Those who are lazy will have no practice of giving, no practice of morality, no practice of wisdom, and so forth. So none of these practices of the 6 perfections is possible if you are lazy. If you are lazy, forget about spiritual practice. You will not also be able to get proper food. You see? And this you can just relate to how you lead your life in your daily life. All of us have a lot of experiences that if we don't do, postpone, then what is the result? We all know this very well. And I might, in my case, for example, in the morning, if I don't just get up, cook my breakfast, and then immediately cook the lunch and so forth, instead of that, if I remain lazy, then I will not get my lunch properly. That's my experience, you see. So in the morning I have to make sure, boy, if you want to eat something during lunch, you need to do something right now, you see. And then when the lunch comes, you're happy, yeah, there's something to eat, it's ready, you see. So for that you need to work. There's something like that, you see. So if you don't work, you won't get anything. Even getting food is difficult. So especially those things which you can do right now, you must do without delay, immediately. That will make your life much simpler, happier, and successful. Don't postpone. Especially, I am saying, big things may be difficult, small things, something that you need to remember, or something that you need to take with you, whatever, small things, start from that. Be mindful and do those things, small things. Or helping somebody, do it. Like sometimes now it's widely prevalent in many of the offices in India or elsewhere, I'm sure. If somebody comes to the office asking for help, and if it is something that you can do in 2 minutes, people don't do. Come tomorrow. We are all familiar with those things, you see. And with that kind of tendency, bureaucracy, how many people are unnecessarily suffering? It is something that you can do on the spot. Like for example, in my office also students come, Geshe Lhakdor, can you please endorse this copy? Put your signature and seal saying this is the true copy of having somebody passed 10th class, 11th class, whatever it is. So for me it is 2 minutes, sealing and signing. So instead of just doing that, if I say, oh, I'm very busy, come tomorrow. These poor people are suffering, you see, for that. Small things like that. It's my experience, your experience. All of us have that experience. So it's important to, then people will be very happy if they come for something. And as I told you, we are talking about bodhisattva practices. In the case of the bodhisattvas, one of the most pleasant things that they can hear is when somebody asks for help. When they hear the voice of the beggar begging something, it is said that is the most musical thing that a bodhisattva can hear. Imagine, for the rest of us, we will be completely irritated. The beggar is coming again, you see. But the bodhisattva, oh, there's an opportunity to collect merit. At least I can be useful today. At least my life is meaningful today, you see. You see. So it's important to, all these texts, great texts, there's so many good things there, we can all read, but those things which you know you can do those things. Those things which you know it is wrong, remember that. That's the most difficult thing. And I know many of my faults. It's extremely difficult to remain mindful, not to repeat that again. That's the most crucial, important practice that one has to do. So look within, and when you are able to see those things which you are repeatedly making mistakes, then write those down. Write down and put it on a wall or somewhere that reminds you, okay, this is your habit, you have been doing this thing, so don't repeat this. That might help you. Because we need to be repeatedly reminded. Otherwise we forget. See? So that's important. So joy, see, the way to remove laziness is to have joy. And if you have that genuine love and compassion for others, joy will naturally come. Look at the parents when they love their kids, love their children, when they are able to help them, they are full of joy. They are full of joy when their kids do well in the school. When they get admission in a good school, when they do well in the good school, when they get a good job, the parents just completely excited. Wow! You see? In many cases, they may not be getting anything. But because they have genuine sense of concern, sense of responsibility, have love. Not completely pure, but still with that kind of not so pure love. You see? So you are able to appreciate the qualities in other people, see the good things in other people. You develop this wish to encourage other people, help others, full of joy, you see. When you like somebody, you wish to help. You see, we all know that. When you like somebody and that somebody asks you help, you immediately go and help because you like somebody, you love somebody. But for the others, we don't care. They're clearly showing we don't love them. We don't care about them. It's not easy, but we need to think. If you think carefully, then as has been read in these texts, that all sentient beings are basically same. Whether you know them or not know them is not the question. They're all same. Even your kids, you do not know them before they were born. It's only after you having given birth or whatever, then you know them. See? So you can easily see, the laziness will not be there. Like look at the sportsmen and women. Because they enjoy what they are doing. The whole day they may be in the field, running around, kicking or beating, whatever. But they are just full of happiness, joy, kicking, laughing, because there's a joy. So we have to, if you have the joy, if you have the interest, if you have the delight in your heart, laziness will automatically go. Be it you're working in the office, if you have the delight right in the morning, if you have this feeling of happiness, I'm so lucky, I'm able to work here and contribute at least a little bit in preserving the dying Tibetan culture, dying Tibetan religion. I'm lucky that so many people are showing interest in this culture, in this religion, and I'm able to play a small part. If you have all these understandings, your job will not become a burden. It will become a delightful experience. And at the same time, you get your salary, you see. So it's double, triple bonus, you see. So it's all here thinking how you think, you see. Instead, if you think, I have to work here, maybe some strange people will come, my salary is not so much. I mean, if you keep on thinking about all these bad, negative things, there will be no joy in your heart. And somehow, for your stomach, you have to work. So that doesn't do anything good to you, good to others, you see. And then that person will not flourish, the institution will not flourish, the society will not flourish. This is how the whole nation, the whole world dies, you see. Because everybody, even in terms of political science, we talk about right and responsibility together, right and duty, two sides of the same coin. But normally people are talking about right. This is my right. I have to get this. People forget about duty, you see. So that's the thing, you see. So, what is developing the body? It is empowering the body and freeing it from laziness. Laziness. Next is developing resources. By giving with a view of emptiness, with the essence of compassion, resources will develop. This is what we have basically discussed earlier also. The essence of Buddha's teaching is a good heart and good head, compassion and wisdom. Compassion and wisdom. Compassion is the driving force that would make you move and go and do things for others. But when you have, in addition to that compassion, which is the driving force, if you also have that wisdom that sees the reality, then there will be no grasping, no obsession with anything. So that helps you get complete freedom. You do things for others without obsession, without attachment, without grasping. You do it for others, not expecting anything in return, because you see the illusion-like nature of everything. And the other day I give you the example. When you see the suffering nature of everybody, what are you going to expect from them? You see? So instead of expecting from others, you should think about how you can help others. If you are expecting something, especially wealth from others, how dare you can expect those things from others when everybody is in need of something, you see? Especially from those who are not so well off. Developing resources. Let me see what is here. In this context, there is a quotation from the Diamond Sutra, where the Buddha says, when a bodhisattva does the practice of giving, does the practice of non-abiding giving, meaning that when you undertake the practice of giving and do not see that giving as having independent inherent existence, does not linger there, does not get obsessed with that, then the merit that is earned from that practice cannot be measured. Cannot be measured. And then similarly, in the Great Wisdom Perfection Sutra, also the Buddha says, O Shariputra, moreover, a bodhisattva, mahasattva, even when does the practice of small practice of giving, not a great giving, but even he does a small giving, but because of the skillful means, if he dedicates that practice of giving to become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings, then that is called training in the wisdom perfection. So here also you can clearly see, when you have the wisdom, even if you do a small positive thing, you know how to multiply it. You know how to dedicate in such a way that the fruit that you will earn will be limitless. So that is called developing the resources. And therefore he says, if you're a bodhisattva or somebody who wants to offer gold and silver and garden, kingdom, and all kinds of material facilities in accordance with the needs of sentient beings, and in this way, if you really want to completely fulfill the needs of sentient beings, then you must train in the wisdom perfection. And the driving force for such practice is, as I said, compassion. Because a bodhisattva does not engage in any act devoid of compassion. Just like a mother who has lost her very beloved child. If you borrow those lines from Kamala Shila's Stages of Meditation, he gives this beautiful example of your only beloved little child. When you have only one child, that child is also very cute, very beloved, and also very small. Then the mother will show all her love and affection to that child, because number one, she is only her child. Number two, she is so sweet, so cute. So similarly, when a bodhisattva sees all sentient beings, like the way the mother sees towards her only sweet little child, that mother, as we can all figure out, has so much love to that little child. And her constant worry and anxiety and concern is about that little child. So the mother's eye is always watchful. See, if you look at the mothers around here, they're always running after these small kids, make sure they're not falling or not getting into trouble and so forth. So they're constantly watching. So a bodhisattva has that tendency towards all sentient beings. Of course, it's difficult for us right now, but that is the desired goal. Desired goal. But still, if you have the wisdom, you will not get discouraged. So it's important to understand that. Otherwise you might think, even to look after one child is so difficult. How can we treat all sentient beings as one single beloved child and look after them? It is so difficult. There is a story of a mother and a king, a leader, of a village. So they were one day just discussing. Then the mother said, the most difficult work in the world is a mother looking after her child. And then the village leader said, no, it's so easy to look after the child. The most difficult is my job as a leader, to look after the complaints of all these villagers. So then at the end of the day, they decided that for one day they would exchange their responsibility. So the mother became leader and the leader had to look after a child. So at the end of the day, the leader was completely tired. Said, how many times I wiped the nose of the child, how many times I took the child to the bathroom, how many times the child cried and so forth. He was completely flat, completely tired. But the mother had a really nice day. She just gave orders, do this, do that. so it's not easy, but things become easy when you have the knowledge, when you have the wisdom. You see, things become difficult when we develop grasping. You see. So ordinary mother looking after even one child is difficult because she has that strong attachment, obsession, and grasping. While looking after the child, she also gets pulled into that child. Her whole energy goes into that child. See, she's more or less sucked into that activity. But in the case of the bodhisattva, or somebody who has developed that wisdom, it's probably just like the sun helping us. The sun constantly gives the heat, the light, whose warmth we all enjoy. But the sun never gets obsessed with us. It just does its duty and remain free. high up in the sky, high up in the space. So that is the difference, So if you have that wisdom, then you will be able to remain free without getting entangled into the object, into the people to whom you are helping or dealing. You can remain free and help. You're not expecting anything. If you expect anything in return, then you are tying your neck with that person. See, that's what we ordinarily do. So there's the thing. Developing positive deeds. The accumulation of merit is the root of the development of practice. Therefore, one should make preparations. On such a basis, one should develop positive deeds. The accumulation of merit is the root of the development of practice. If you want to make a lot of progress in your practice, you need to accumulate merit. Shantideva, in his 400 verses, he says, if you don't have enough store of merit, forget for knowing, you will also not even be able to develop some kind of doubt towards the validity of the teaching. You will not even develop some kind of caution towards the validity of these teachings. You will not even move your mind towards these teachings. So when seen from this point of view, we are all lucky. We all at least have interest, we are making effort. So it's important to again rejoice that we are fortunate, we are lucky. So the accumulation of merit, that's why people go around the temple. That's why the text is talking about whitewashing the stupa, decorating the temple, things like that, You involve yourself in so many ways to accumulate merit. And that accumulation of merit comes when you have the purity of the mind to do things to benefit all others. You decorate temple because the temple is the source of inspiration for many others. The stupas are a source of inspiration to many others. They represent Buddha's qualities because of those understandings. Therefore, one should make preparations. On such a basis, one should develop positive deeds. So what are the preparations? The preparations are also in stabilizing effort and mental attitude, first with emphasis, place the compassion, and then place emphasis on developing virtuous actions. So that means we have already, while discussing laziness, we have discussed a little bit about importance of effort, which means delighting in doing positive, good activities. And you can develop that mental delight by thinking, as is explained in the sutra, where the Buddha says, in the past, countless lives, how many lives I have taken. But because I have not enjoyed the resources in a proper sense, proper way, I have wasted them. Now I should not continue to do so. So in this way, you stabilize, you strengthen your physical capacity, physical power. Similarly, you can think that in the past, for countless lives, I have used my body and my mind in an impure way, And as a result, that threw me into the continuous cycle of existence. So now I should control my body and my mind and make an attempt to come out of the samsara. In the past, for countless lives, I've engaged in activities which are not pure, which are worldly activities, where I engaged in cunningness, deceitfulness, and meaninglessly I have tired myself, exhausted myself. So now I should not continue with the same trend. I must fulfill the most cherished, important objectives. So there's so many ways you can strengthen your effort by reflecting on the point how you have wasted your life in the past, in this life and in the past many lives. So now you should make a kind of decision that I will ensure that I will now use my body and mind in the right way in all sense of the terms. So that is stabilizing the effort. Then next is stabilizing the mind. As we discussed already, that the most important foundation for doing any spiritual practice is having a positive mind, especially a stable mind, an unchanging mind in the sense of having total commitment in doing spiritual dharma practice. So that is called stabilizing the mind. In one of the sutra, Arya Dharma Sangati Sutra, also the Buddha says, a perfect state of mind is the foundation of all qualities. Wherever there is such a perfect state of mind, all the qualities of the Buddha are there. Where such a state of mind is absent, all the qualities of the Buddha will become remote and distant. And if you have that perfect state of the mind, then even in that place, if there is no Buddha, you will still be able to get teachings from the space, from the trees, from the walls of the house, and so forth. Your mind is so important. And that kind of perfect or pure state of mind is rooted to how you employ your mind. It is rooted in proper instructions and teachings. So therefore it is the task of a bodhisattva or a practitioner on the path of bodhisattva to take care of this state of mind, to guard it, to protect it, and to use it properly. So basically, when we are talking about cultivating a stable mind, we are talking about cultivating a mind which is not superficial. We are talking about cultivating a mind which is without deceit. We are talking about mind which thoroughly understands things. We are talking about mind which is free from cunningness. We are talking about mind which is honest and straightforward. We are talking about mind which is clear and not crooked. We are talking about mind which is of equal state. We are talking about mind which is strong. We are talking about mind which is unchanging. We are talking about mind which is not fluctuating. Especially this word fluctuating is interesting because in one of the Buddha's sutra he says, do not make your mind like a feather of a bird. If your mind becomes like a feather of a bird, it can be just tossed around and blown by the negative emotions all around, and then you can never have peace and happiness. So your mind should not be like a piece of paper or a feather which can be thrown in all directions by slightest disturbance of conceptual thoughts. Because your whole being, your whole mind can be agitated, disturbed by the fluctuation of your conceptual thoughts. But through training, through practice, you should make your mind so focused, so strong, so stable, that you are not easily tossed around by the fluctuations of the thought. So there's the meaning of stabilizing your effort and stabilizing your mental attitude. So this should be practiced right in the beginning as a basis for your developing virtuous actions later on. And the next is practice of compassion. Place compassion in before yourself and then make repeated effort in developing your virtuous practices. In one of the sutra, the Buddha says, if you have one practice in the palm of your hand, you have all the practices in the palm of your hand. And what is that one practice? Compassion. So compassion is really like your lifeline. It's really like your life. Just as if life is there, then all your other sense faculties, sense organs will function. If the life itself is not there, then none of your sense faculties will function. So great compassion is like your life. Because compassion, as I said earlier, is a mind thinking how nice if all sentient beings are without suffering. If you are somebody who really has that kind of feeling, that sense of concern, then you cannot kill others, you cannot rape others, you cannot exploit others, you cannot cheat others. So all negative actions towards sentient beings will cease. And thereby you will be able to get all the positive qualities. See, here also you can figure out that even if you do one practice properly, many other negative emotions will cease by itself. If you specialize in one practice. If you read Nagarjuna's Ratnavali, the precious garland, his advice and instruction to the king, he says, O great king, even if you do one practice perfectly, like the practice of giving perfectly, with full understanding, full implementation, then your name and fame will grow in this life. In the future lives also, all the positive results will be there, if you do one thing properly. So this also shows that we are unable to do even one thing properly. We may pick up a little bit of things from here, from there, and so forth, but we may not be able to develop these qualities properly. We are unable to specialize in any of these things. So that is the problem. So, have that compassion in front of you means have that compassion as the most important thing, the driving force. And then you can develop all other positive qualities. So you should make it a point that I will develop all other qualities by developing compassion, which means, compassion means How nice if all other sentient beings are without suffering. That's the definition. So if you have this concern that all sentient beings are without suffering, then naturally all your virtuous practices will develop and prosper. So that's why he's saying, make emphasis on this one practice of development of compassion. And if you do that, all virtuous practices will increase and prosper. That's what he's saying. One should accumulate merit through practice in accordance with Aryabhadra Charita's prayers and so forth. As is found in the Aryabhadra Charita prayer, venerate with prostration and so on, always meditate on faith and so forth, remember loving kindness, Buddha and so forth. As is found in Aryabhadra Charita prayer, venerate with prostration and so forth. So this is basically talking about how you can cultivate veneration, respect and faith to the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha. So as is taught in this Aryabhadra prayer, you should do this practice by reciting this sutra called Three Hip Sutra. Three Hip Sutra, Phungbu Sumba. So in this text it says that having, as we discussed earlier, having developed a stable effort, having developed a strong attitude, and then having developed a great compassion, meaning that these three developments of effort, of mental attitude, compassion, by empowering all these three practices, as if these three practices are competing each other, then you should make an effort to increase your merit. So here in this case, one of the wonderful ways of accumulating merit is reciting and reflecting on this sutra called Three Hip Sutra. Three Hip Sutra, or the meaning that is taught in that Three Hip Sutra, is three practices. One is confessing negative deeds that you have done. Second is rejoicing the good things that you have done. That's the second hip. And the third is requesting the Buddha to teach or not to pass away and so forth. So by doing these three practices, you will be able to accumulate heaps of merit, lots of merit. That's why they are called three hips. Because the practice called the seven limb practice that we normally do in the very beginning, in the preparation. So these are basically included in the practice of these three hips practices. So there's the meaning of, as is found in the Aryabhadra Charita prayer, venerate with prostration and so forth. Okay? Prostration and so forth. That is the meaning. That's included in these three practice of the three hips. And then the next lines read, always meditate on faith and so forth. We have right in the beginning discussed the meaning of faith a little bit. I'm sure you will remember I explained to you 4 types of faith. Do you remember? 4 types of faith. It's all recorded, you can review those things. I have explained to you the 4 types of faith, which are purifying faith, trusting faith, aspiring faith, and what? Unchanging faith, very good, very good. So sometimes they talk about 3 types of faiths, sometimes 2, sometimes 4. So here, these 2 lines, always meditate on faith and so forth, remember loving kindness, Buddha and so forth. This is basically talking about recollecting the 3 objects of refuge, Buddha, Dharma and Sangha. In one of the Buddha Sutra, he advises the king by saying, "O king, if you have these 4 practices, then you will never degenerate or decline from your Mahayana practices, and you will excel in that Mahayana practices." So what are those 4 practices which will help you not to decline in your Mahayana practices? The first is cultivation of faith. Because if you have the faith, that will help you come closer to the superior beings. If you have the faith, you will not do those things which you should not do. And then he says secondly, the second quality is veneration and respect. You will excel in your Mahayana practices if you have veneration and respect through the teaching. It's because of veneration and respect, the elegant, wonderful teachings of the Arya superior beings, you will show respect to them, you will listen to them, you will pay proper heed to these teachings. As such, your practice will excel. And the third practice which will help your Mahayana practice excel is having no arrogance. And if you are somebody without arrogance, you will bow down to the superior beings. You will pay homage to them and seek their instructions. And thus your teaching and practice will excel. And the fourth quality which will make your practice excel is effort. Because if you make the effort, there will be joy and delight in your heart. And as a result, your body and mind becomes serviceable. You see, this is an interesting point. When you have joy and delight in your heart, your body and mind become serviceable. You see, when your mind is ready, the mind says, okay, let us climb Trund, which may take 4 or 5 hours. The mind says, go and do a trekking. You will start going. Doesn't matter, it takes 4 or 5 hours. You just go there, come down. There is no sign of laziness there, you see. Because the mind shows interest. The mind makes initiatives. And therefore, if you have that delight in your heart in the form of effort, then your mind becomes serviceable, your body becomes serviceable, and thus you are able to achieve success in all your activities. So these are the 4 practices which will help those who have entered the Mahayana path not to let their positive practices decline, and instead those practices will excel, become special. And the word faith also here refers to the 5 types of faith, which refers to the faith that is included in the 5 sense faculties, which are the sense faculty of faith, of effort, of mindfulness, of meditative stabilization, and wisdom. So meditate on these different types of faith and cultivate these different types of faith all the time. And likewise, remember loving kindness. Just as we have discussed about the importance of compassion, similarly loving kindness is extremely important because it is a mind which says, how nice if all sentient beings meet with happiness. Loving kindness means it is a mind which says, how nice if all sentient beings meet with happiness. So again, the focus is on the well-being of sentient beings. Remember loving kindness. Buddha and so forth means Buddha, Dharma and Sangha. You can read sutras which talks about the great qualities of Buddha, Dharma and Sangha. That Buddha is somebody who possesses that vast store of merit and wisdom, one who possesses perfect loving kindness, perfect compassion, one who remains always in a meditative state, one who is totally liberated from samsara and from solitary nirvana, is somebody who is like parents to all suffering sentient beings. So you need to, in this way, think about all the great qualities of the Buddha. And then likewise, remember the great qualities of the Dharma. That the Buddha which you highly revered become Buddha by practicing Dharma. So in a sense, they are born from Dharma. They are the ones who engage in Dharma. They are emanations of Dharma. They are the owners of Dharma. They are object of engagement of Dharma. They are dependent on Dharma. They are produced by Dharma and so on. So if you think about all the individual qualities of Buddha, they all arose from Dharma. Likewise, there's another very interesting teaching here where the Buddha says you can also highly respect and venerate the Dharma also from the point of view that the Dharma treats all sentient beings equally without any differentiation. So you should pray that may I be like the Dharma in treating the sentient beings. Dharma is not biased. They do not treat different people differently by looking at their face. So I should also act like a Dharma. The reign of Dharma, or in terms of the availability of Dharma, it is there for all time to come. Dharma is meaningful to behold. So therefore the Dharma never waits for a particular time to help other sentient beings. They are always there. So I should also reflect like the Dharma. Dharma also does not make a differentiation in between whether somebody is high or somebody is low. So I will also cultivate a mind similar to that. So there are so many great qualities explained here about Dharma. Next is remembering the qualities of the Sangha. As is always explained in the Lamrim text, Sangha is really your example, the one who inspires you in engaging in the spiritual practice. It is because of the presence of people who do good things that we also get inspired to do those practices. So if you want to know more about their great qualities, please read Lamadam Chemo. They are all available in English now. One should generate other causes of developing merit. In short, now he is summarizing everything. In short, the perpetual practice of non-materialistic giving of dharma and the practice of bodhicitta for the sake of sentient beings are the causes of the development of merit. So if we summarize the main causes of the development of merit, then there are two things. One is giving dharma teaching, which is of course non-material, giving dharma teaching, and developing bodhicitta. So to summarize, these are the two main practices. Out of all types of giving, dharma giving is said to be the most important giving, because what sentient beings need is to remove their ignorance, which can be removed not by material wealth, which can be removed through knowledge, through dharma teaching. So that is the greatest gift. And if people know about dharma, then they will be able to take care of themselves for their immediate needs, for their long-term needs. So that's extremely, extremely important. Then bodhicitta, the wish to achieve enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. There cannot, as His Holiness the Dalai Lama always says, that there cannot be a mind better than bodhicitta. A mind which thinks about benefiting all sentient beings. Imagine. So this is extremely, extremely precious teaching, but at the same time it's also risky for us. On and off we will notice, or we will come to the understanding that although we cultivate bodhicitta several times, when His Holiness is giving the teaching, we also read about those things, we talk about those things, but as and when we come across a troublesome person, or if you have an enemy, that troublesome person is immediately kicked out from the sentient beings. When you were cultivating bodhicitta, you said, "May I achieve enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings." You did not say that, "May I achieve enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings who do not trouble me." If you had made such a commitment right at the beginning, then it's okay. But when you were cultivating bodhicitta, you said, all sentient beings. That included, all sentient beings included everybody, your enemy, the troublesome person. So now the question is, how would you develop that mind towards those troublemakers, towards your enemy? So that's very important area to think about. So what is said in Buddhism is, even in the case of those people who are troubling you, who are your enemies, your negative emotions towards them will not solve your problem. Instead, it will make the matter worse. Like, for example, as His Holiness gives the most wonderful example, when treating with these troublesome Chinese leaders, he says, I develop compassion towards all of them. I also develop sense of responsibility towards their well-being also. But this does not mean to say that you do not fight for your just cause. So here, what is taught in Bodhicharya Avatara is to make a distinction between the wrongdoer and the wrongdoing. The person and the negative emotion within that person. So be compassionate and kind and loving towards all sentient beings, including your enemy, including that person who is troubling you. But find out a way to deal with their negative emotions, their wrong ways of life. This is amazing teaching, you see. And His Holiness illustrates this point by saying that we are quite clever. When it comes to us, we do that, exactly do that. If I make a mistake, then I'll say, I'm sorry, it was my mistake, I really didn't want to do that, but I made a mistake, sorry. Meaning that you try to separate yourself from that mistake. And you will try to show that you as a person is good, but this is bad. So you make a distinction between the two. But when the same mistake is done by some other people, you don't make the distinction. He is the one. He is the black sheep. You see? So now if you treat like that with your enemy or whoever, then there is no room for negotiation, no room for dialogue. So even in the case of your enemy, I'm sure there are good things done by the enemy. So if you are able to talk about the good things, this is a good thing you have done, but this is a bad thing you have done. I don't agree with this one. If you are able to say those things, it will also help the enemy change their attitude, I'm sure. You see. So that's a very, very important thing. And then, of course, as Nagarjuna says in one of his advices, that if you want to overpower the enemy, you should strengthen yourself with positive qualities. Negative emotions like ill will and hatred will be of no use, he says. Because if you develop negative emotions and ill will towards the enemy, it will not harm the enemy, it will harm you. It will harm you. Like for example, right now we can be extremely angry with somebody that we don't like, develop all the negative emotions, We are suffering here. The enemy may be enjoying somewhere, watching a movie or sipping a cup of coffee or whatever. The enemy may be enjoying, you see. So it's not harming them, you see. So therefore, these negative emotions are not good for anybody. So we need to find out a way to fight against these negative emotions and strengthen and help people change, become better. Normally we don't give that opportunity. When somebody commits a small mistake, they say, oh, this is the ugly lady, oh, this is the ugly man. He's so bad, saying all the bad things about. Then we never give an opportunity for that person to grow up. There's nobody who doesn't make a mistake. Everybody makes a mistake. So what is important is we should, as I said, make a distinction between the wrongdoer and wrongdoing. And then we should tell the person, what you have done, I know you're a good person, what you've done is wrong, so let us work together and change that wrong ways of life. You see? So that way you do not ostracize any person, do not discourage any person. The trainings mentioned will lead to the achievement of thorough abandonment and the methods by which one will be able to lead such a life are the practices of modesty, alertness, and mindfulness. This word I've used here, modesty, I don't know. Sometimes I'm tempted to use the word careful, take care, like careful, or heedfulness, which word is better, I don't know. But what he is saying here is that you're able to undertake all these positive practices very much dependent on your being able to remain on your guard all the time. Always remain careful, heedful, number one. That means whether it's what you are doing, it's a good thing or bad thing, always remain watchful. That's heedfulness. Always pay attention, be careful. And normally after ordination, the abbot and the group of monks give the ordination, offer the ordination. Then at the end of the day, just before parting, they give the final parting advice by saying, now you become a fully ordained bhikshu or monk, be careful. That's the parting advice. So here also he is giving that advice. Be careful. Just like exactly like saying, take care. Bye, take care. You see, bye, take care. So taking care means to remain watchful. Whether you are doing something that is harmful, whether you are doing something that is helpful and useful. What are you doing? You have always remained watchful. You see? And it primarily means do not allow yourself completely led by the dictates of the senses. Don't let your senses run wild. I've given you the examples of how you can get into trouble if you allow even one of your senses run wild. So put some restraint on the demands of your senses. Your mind should always remain alert and watchful. What is good for you temporarily, what is good for you in the long run. So that kind of heedfulness is the most important thing. And then mindfulness and conscientiousness. Mindfulness means being able to remember what you are supposed to do. Like for example, you are supposed to practice compassion, then remember, don't forget. The definition of mindfulness is that it remembers something that you have already experienced in the past. You remember that object and then ensure that your mind stays on that object. That's called mindfulness. Okay, this is something I have to do. You focus on it. Don't let it, run away from the focus of your mind. That's mindfulness. Then conscientiousness means to remain watchful. Right now, what my mind is doing. Right now, what my body is doing. So it's like the police, the guard. So in short, he is saying through heedfulness, through mindfulness, and through conscientiousness, what you need to do is do 4 things. What is known as the 4 abandonments. That means in terms of the positive deeds, those positive deeds that you have not done, you should do. Those positive deeds that you are doing, you should further strengthen it, promote it, make it flourish. In the case of the negative deeds, those negative deeds that you have not done, don't make a start. You're good, you're not doing that, don't start. And those things you are doing or you have done, put a full stop to it. Don't do it again. Stop it. So that is the way. That's the way. So properly. One will achieve thorough abandonments by not being separate from heedfulness, by being alert, mindful, and through proper contemplation. Through proper contemplation. As Atisha in his Lamb of the Path, he says that conceptual thoughts are kind of great ignorance. The discursive thoughts are like big ignorance. So if you let your conceptual thoughts engage in improper objects and let these conceptual thoughts run wild, it will throw you into the forest of samsara, cycle of existence. So therefore, through constant effort, reflection, you need to develop that non-conceptual state of experiencing the ultimate truth in its various forms. So here also it talks about through proper contemplation. The practice of protection here, in the case of the 4 thorough abandonments, refers to making effort in developing the aspiration not to cultivate non-virtuous actions which have not been cultivated, to strive towards its cultivation, to make effort to its cultivation, to remain attentive and to thoroughly devote one's mind to this. Purification means to cultivate the aspiration, to eliminate non-virtuous and evil deeds which have been cultivated. Develop means to cultivate an intention to produce virtuous actions which have not yet been developed, and to further develop and stabilize virtuous actions which have already been produced. During these practices, one should always maintain heedfulness because it is the root of all virtuous actions. One who is heedful will make effort in the practice of mindfulness and conscientiousness. Equipped with these qualities, one will put proper effort into one's practice. This completes the Compendium of Precepts in verses composed by Abbot Shantideva. It was translated and proofread by the Indian Abbot Jina Mitra and Danashila, and proofreader and translator, the Tibetan translator and proofreader, the Bhikshu Yeshide. At a later time, the text has also been thoroughly proofread by the Kashmiri Indian Pandit Lakka Kavashu and the translator Tibetan Bhikshu London Shirap at Siddhya Monastery, Sarvamangalam. So I did this translation, and many people helped me in editing the English version. I'm still working. I want to make it slowly grow fatter and fatter with more clear explanations. So this completes the text, reading the text. And as I promised, since you have read this text, which is by Shantideva, and there are not many clear stories about Shantideva, and I have few pages here available in English, so I want you have one copy here so that you know about the story of Shantideva. Who is he? So this you need to read to know about Shantideva, to make more spiritual connection with Shantideva. Everyone good? So tomorrow is the last day, although we have finished reading the text, but I want to, tomorrow it might take just 1 hour. I want to give you another text, which is a very short summary of how would you engage in your practice in a systematic way. The Lamrim, very short Lamrim, 2-page Lamrim, which is found in the end of Tsongkhapa's Great Stages of the Path. The summary, he made a summary there, how to do both the Sutric and Tantric practice in a stage by stage. And I had the privilege of translating it when I was working with His Holiness. His Holiness himself, on a different occasion, he said, it's good if you are able to translate it. So I translated it. So I'll give you that text. So tomorrow is the last day. Thank you very much.